We are ready like a naughty cucumber. I mean, sure.
Like a naughty bulbous
Wow.
cucumber, bulbous, full of bulbs.
Full of oomphs.
I don't like cucumbers, Luigi. I will have to be honest with
I
you.
like cucumbers.
I
What's wrong with you? I
they,
harassed you as a child. What the hell?
they smacked my young face with hard, sturdy cucumbers.
Wow. That sounds fun, actually. What do you do to your kids? I slap them with cucumbers.
Slap them with cucumbers, folks.
It's not child abuse. It's
Of course it's not child abuse, it's Mother Nature, dipshits. Cucumbers, there's nothing more naturous. It's just they come from the earth, dipshits. From dust to dust, fucking dipshits. They
ashes to fucking ashes.
Ashes to ashes, Luigi. I mean, they gotta question everything these days. What the fuck are you questioning me slapping my kid with cucumbers? For fuck's sake, mind your business, fucking idiot. What are you doing with your kids? Oh, you haven't got any. But I think now we're talking about kids and shit. I think it's incredible that if you check adoption services, when you're gonna adopt, Luigi, usually you go through a rigorous fucking process that actually makes sure that you're capable of raising a child, give or take. Check financials, mental health history. They interview people close to you. They check your house. They check how you live. They check your habits.
They check your dog cage. They check your closet.
People. They check inside your anus. But I mean, in contrast to the absolutely zero checks they make if you pop one off yourself.
That's actually true. Yeah.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. I'm a stout support. Stout is that a word? Whatever. I'm a huge supporter of actually making people pass tests before they can have children or have some sort of a filtering process.
Otherwise, we cut off your testicles.
And not every sperm is worthy of becoming a child. That's a short version. I'm sorry.
100%. I mean, some sperm should be wasted. Welcome back to our incredible show once again. We took a very brief hiatus, maybe a week or so, because not much has happened in the news. I'm lying, Luigi.
Got him.
Got him. And here is my co-host, the great Luigi. Hi, Luigi, how have you been?
The one, the only, il supremo nes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing very well.
Did anything happen?
So we have news. A lot has happened over the last couple of weeks. Our one true Lord and Savior, his Donald Ness, has been indicted by a grand jury.
His great Donald Ness, the one, the only, the orange one, the golden nugget.
Bringer of walls and tax cuts.
Bringer of wall and corporate tax cuts.
That's what we mean.
Finally been indicted, arraigned, whatever the fuck it was, because of the hush money payment. Did you see there was a Fox News broadcast right as it happened? By the way, they were actually discussing about trans athletes in sports, literally. And the breaking news came out that Donald Trump is going to be arraigned. And you could hear audible sighs, audible gasps, dude. And when people behind the cameras being like, what? Yeah. So it happened.
This is April Fool's.
It was a big event. He got arraigned in New York. Finally, I would say. I can imagine it was like the judge was like, "Oh, Donald, I thought I would have seen you here a long while ago. You have been a very naughty guy." But he went there. We didn't get the mugshot, unfortunately. We don't have a mugshot, but
They didn't take one. I think they didn't take one out
they
of
didn't.
respect for the
Yeah,
office.
ridiculous. We wanted that mugshot, but regardless,
I would have
CNN
been.
chartered a boat so they could get all angles on Trump's aeroplane descending into beautiful New York.
All CNN employees got 2 weeks paid leave just to celebrate with their families.
It was something else. By the way, the amount of cameras on him during that. Mostly, I mean, yeah, it's a historic event, definitely. I mean, as I said last time, I'm just waiting for them to actually charge him for the real crimes he participated in. No, this isn't a crime, obviously, but I want him fucking arraigned for inciting an insurrection on January 6th. That's what I want him arraigned for. And I also want him arraigned and indicted about the fucking phone call to the Georgian state governor. What was it? The guy, Raffensperger. Find me 11,000 votes.
That's the big one. That's a big one because if you take election tampering seriously in any way, like that's blatant. Blatant, like trying to influence an election outcome.
It actually doesn't get more blatant than that.
5 million votes.
There is actually no way to make the crime more blatant. So, yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. But it's nice to see him in jail nonetheless. It's nice. Nicest of all are the conservative tears, of course. Obviously.
Okay, let me lick them. Okay, to bring everybody up to speed, Donald Trump has been indicted for paying his lawyer, I understand.
It's 34 counts of felony charges.
Okay. So it's not illegal to pay a porn star hash money.
No, not necessarily.
It is illegal to pay your lawyer legal fees for doing that with campaign funds.
It has been argued that because it's a state crime, he's been charged in New York, but there are federal connotations. I think they will argue that this is related to his election because I believe that there has been some reports that Cohen, which was his ex-fixer, who actually served jail for this crime, that he was instructed by Trump to delay the payments for as long as possible until after the election, because then Trump claimed that who cares after the election to pay Stormy Daniels. So if that's the reason that he was delaying, then it could be credibly argued, I guess, in court that this has to do with his election, the hash money. It's going to be complicated what they're arguing here. I don't think he's going to serve jail for this.
I very much doubt it. So far, they are not really felonies, or I guess they are minor crimes.
They are felonies, but they're the lowest
form of felony. So he's probably not going to do jail time because of that. But the funny part, as I'm reading in this article, is he doesn't deny directing his lawyer to pay Stormy Daniels for her silence.
We've got Giuliani on Fox News just outright claiming it, dude. We've got a video from Giuliani just being like, funnel through a law firm, yes, no campaign finance money. That's how you do it, Sean. The Titan, by the way, came out. She said that they also came after Jesus Christ and Nelson Mandela. And I'm sure if the Titan knew anything about Nelson Mandela, she'd realize that
I think she knows the name. That's it.
Because, I mean, you're the pro-apartheid side, darling. You're not the pro-Mandela side. You're with the apartheid guys. That's true. Now they're coming after Trump. I am a martyr. It's true. The radical pervert Marxists, the rabid dogs, the subhuman, multidimensional, un-American, reverse racist demons are coming after me like they've never come after anyone before. Not even the great late Abraham Lincoln. People have said this to me, Luigi. Very manly people with tears in their eyes. They came up to me. They said, Sir, I can't see anymore. There's so much liquid in my eyes. I don't know what's wrong with them. Very strange. Nobody's ever seen anything like this before.
I've got actually something interesting. So the Donald getting indicted, I mean, you have to imagine that Democrats are doing this for election purposes and just to damage the Trump brand even further ahead of 2024, right? But it seems to have backfired, and I've got something from Yahoo here showing election polls right after the indictment was announced between Trump and DeSantis, and look at this.
That's the thing. That's the thing, though, Luigi. It's the primary that's been affected.
It's the primary, but like you, okay, I understand what you're saying.
The Democrats don't give a shit about the
Republicans.
Yeah.
But among the Republican base, if this was intended to sort of split the Republicans and push more voters towards DeSantis, it has backfired spectacularly.
And I genuinely think that the Democrats fear DeSantis more than Trump. Easily, actually.
For sure.
They'd rather have Trump 100%. They're going to do the Pied Piper thing strategy, even though 1 out of 2 times it failed. It literally has a 50% success rate, but they're going to go with it.
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
Yeah, and they're going to go with it because, there are really serious stuff to arrest Trump for. This ain't it. I mean, I'm not against prosecuting him for this.
There's some detail here.
It can't be just this.
There's some detail here by the Associated Press that says the charges are about falsifying business records.
He hasn't paid tax on the hash money, I guess. And he falsified his business records on there because he didn't want them recorded anywhere, I guess.
So he
was probably business expenses. That's what he filed this as.
Exactly, that's what he filed it under. He locked it as legal expenses while he was president.
Who among you has not business expense filed his hash payments to a porn star?
Let him throw the first stone.
If they can do this to me, they can do this to you. And I'm like, yeah, dumbass, that's how the fucking law works.
Or does it? Because an irregular person would have had their mugshot taken, but 100%.
And I mean, imagine if Luigi himself had called the fucking Raffensperger in Georgia and requested 11,000 votes. We'd already be doing this from jail, people.
Luigi does not get indicted. Luigi is above all laws. Luigi will only be judged
and domestic
and extraterrestrial.
Of course. I mean.
Only the reptilian aliens will judge Luigi.
Yeah, and by that he means, DeSantis, Buddha judge the rest of
it. Was thinking more of Jeff Bezos or someone like that, for sure.
Do not mention his name. It is
Trump taking a huge lead over DeSantis. The indictment news actually helping him, although we have to look at general
100%. Helping him with his base. He's gonna coast through the nomination, the Republican Party. But I think it will hurt, especially when we're talking about multiple indictments. If there's more than one coming, I have no doubt that in the end it's going to hurt him terribly in the general.
We're going to have to see.
If we're talking just about this, I'm not certain what's going to happen. But if there are more coming, Luigi, I don't think, because you win these things by gaining the independent vote. And by the way, independent people does not exactly mean in the center, but it's just people who don't want to be aligned either with the Republican or the
They don't have an allegiance to either party. They
don't like either parties. Doesn't mean they're in the center ideologically. But you got to win those. And I think they're pretty put off by the great ex-president, just
His Royal Majesty.
His Royal Majesty milling about courtrooms left and right because of fucking indiscretions and illegal shit that he's been committing allegedly all over the fucking place. It's Trump, people. Half this shit he admits and boasts about it in his rallies. By the way, I watched his rally right after in Florida, rally speech, whatever the fuck. He focused half his time not on this charge, Luigi, but on the other charges. He went on and on about Georgia and the rabid beast that's prosecuting me there.
That's the real deal.
By the way, he calls them reverse racists, if you can imagine. You know why? Because most of them are black, by the way. They're black people. And he calls them reverse. They're so racist. It's reversed. My mind. So many high-level ideas.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is he focused a lot of his time on this, on the other potential pending charges. Of
course, but because that's what the real threat is. The Georgia thing is where the real threat is. Like if some prosecutor can get a hold of those phone calls, because
we're gonna get supposedly the state attorney there, the district attorney, whatever they're called, is actually on the case. Trump has name checked all of them.
I mean, consider me a little bit hesitant to trust that most of this is going to come out, but I mean, we're going to have to wait for it.
I'm feeling that it's more and more likely because this has come out.
There's momentum,
If they're
for
going to
sure.
arrest their lawyers on this one, it's going to get very, very dicey.
All right, so keeping
Because
up
I
with
mean,
America.
anybody, and sorry, Luigi, and I do just never shut up. But I mean, anybody can imagine that to an average person, yeah, this doesn't sound particularly good, but it sounds much more trivial than anything having to do with getting votes in Georgia to change the outcome of an election in your favor. Hash money payments to a porn star is
Yeah.
gonna
It's
register on
bullshit.
that
It's
scale.
almost bullshit. Yeah. But I mean, the other thing, like the Georgia thing, you can
If
prosecute
it was
him
me, he'd be
properly.
in jail already because of that. I mean, if it
But
was me, folks, if I was the
how
district
funny,
attorney, I wouldn't be fucking lolling.
how funny would it be if at on the debate stage, somebody says,
We're gonna lock you up, bitch.
yeah, like you'd be locked up, and then they flip his own lines
By the way, how
on
fun
him.
is this? How fun is this, right? The tables have turned so much. The whole thing started with lock her up, descending the beautiful golden escalator. And everybody said, we're gonna lock her up. And now you're gonna be locked up.
I mean, he's never gonna be locked up. The most I can imagine
I
this
would love a
escalating
home
to,
arrest.
a home arrest.
In
But a home arrest
Mar-a-Lago.
in
I've
fucking
been locked
Mar-a-Lago.
up
I
in
mean,
my
thanks.
winter White House.
I can only go until the edge of the golf course, and
I
it's
cannot.
really difficult.
But I mean,
Right.
it's
I think
incredible, right? I think this is all going to end up. Let's close with this. I think
Let's
it's all going
close.
to end up with Trump trying to evade the authorities, rushing to the border in Mexico and getting stuck in that fucking wall he built.
Nice.
That
Or
would be
getting deported. Whoa,
wow,
wouldn't
wow.
that be the
Imagine if he
ultimate
got deported
ironic?
to El Salvador. They brought me here. What is this place? It's full of immigrants.
Wait, am I the immigrant now?
Let's go.
For sure.
Let's end with this one. Yeah, we'll see what
It's
happens.
been fun.
Very
It's been fun.
interesting. It's very fun with old Donny boy.
Are we gonna stay in the American political scene?
Yeah. Let's do this one fast as well. It's about Clarence Thomas.
Clarence, sad face, Thomas.
Clarence Thomas, who, for anybody who doesn't know, one of the 9 Supreme Court justices, easily the most dipshit of them all, easily the biggest dipshit out of them, easily the most far right. For instance, when the abortion decision came out last summer, when was it? Thomas was the only one who argued for people to actually have a look at the homosexuality thing as well, the equality, and then the other ones as well. The only one he didn't touch was interracial marriage, interestingly enough. I'll let the listeners figure that one out themselves. But it's come out in a ProPublica report that he has been getting vast sums of undisclosed gifts, vast sums of them from mega donors that were never reported.
As you do.
AOC has come out calling for him to be impeached 100%, but it's not going to happen.
Have you actually impeached? Like, what's the process to impeach a Supreme Court justice?
You need the Congress, which ain't going to happen. But that's it. They have no other balance on their checks. Let's call it that.
The checks and the balances.
Nobody's watching them. Nobody's regulating them. Nobody can do anything to them. They are completely and utterly without any checks on them.
So he was receiving personal gifts for 25 years.
Yes, he was receiving personal gifts for 20
How
years.
long has been on this?
He is the longest serving current justice, the longest serving. He was nominated by George Papa Bush in 1991. Let me guess,
he's been serving for 25 years. My God, that's almost exactly 25 years.
It's incredible. Yeah. He has received trips from Crow. He's the mega donor, the Republican mega donor. It included travel on private jets, yachts, stays at exclusive resorts in islands.
Nice. Living that Supreme Justice life. I mean, a very humble lifestyle.
Very humble lifestyle. He receives vast sums of money. I mean, to the degree that his wife, Jeannie Thomas, was paid $120,000 salary by this billionaire, basically $120,000 salary. Which is,
by the way, like there are established not necessarily laws, but norms inside the legal profession for sure about.
For the legal profession, yes, but not for Supreme Court judges.
Yeah, but that's the funny part. The Supreme Court justice is the ultimate representative of the legal profession, right? That's the Mount Everest.
The highest achievement in that career, and you see the way that they're conducting themselves is completely below par. They sit above federal ethics regulations, essentially governing themselves.
Yeah, that's a great scenario to find.
Yeah, when you let students
who regulates you, I
own,
regulate me.
mark their own homework. And so that's how we go to the Boeing disaster in the United States, where they were regulating themselves, for fuck's sake, until their planes started falling from the fucking sky.
A fun fact, self-regulation has been tried 1,000 times across 2,000 industries. It doesn't fucking work.
Of course
it doesn't. Never work. Relying on an entire industry's sort of goodwill to police themselves has never worked. And I don't think it's ever gonna work.
No. The whole thinking is stupid. And I mean, Crow, the mega donor, has for 3 days. I mean, it's been claimed by Thomas that this has nothing to do with his work in the court. But for 3 decades, this guy has served on boards of trustees of the American Enterprise Institute, which has published and taken credit for multiple amicus briefs filed with the Supreme Court by the group's president and scholars. They have effectively said they've taken arguments up to the Supreme Court. So of course this shit is a conflict of interest. It's a clear
the biggest I've seen.
Of interest.
The biggest conflict of interest I've seen.
He's the most senior. Yes, go on, Luigi.
No. The fact that, as I'm reading here, like his defense was, but the conservative donor didn't really have an interest in the work of the Supreme Court. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me too?
Oh, yeah, he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart because he really likes your personality. Of course,
he's got the best jokes, dude. I mean,
the best jokes.
It's been said, Clarence has the best jokes.
They're better than ours.
I mean,
Clarence,
that's why
you podcast.
That's why you give 120K to your wife, Clarence, because we're buddies and all.
Like the fact that a corruption scandal like this can come out, and like we are not even talking about immediate impeachment. Well, I don't know. I've never is a strong word, but in recent history, I don't remember a corruption case involving Supreme Courts quite like this one.
I haven't seen one. I mean, they've been doing this shit for a while. And what was I saying at the start? When they removed the right to abortion, even though there was precedent for this right for fucking 50 years, they removed it. The wankers who go on about precedent all the time. But when they removed it in Dubs,
precedent, good song.
Dubs versus Jackson. That's what they all claimed, by the way, in their fucking hearings when they were gonna get on the court. They were all claiming, "Oh yes, we will judge based on precedent." What the fuck happened then about abortion and precedent then? But in a concurring opinion in Dubs, Thomas suggested similar rights, same-sex marriage, gay sex, and contraception access should be reviewed. But he did not mention interracial marriage, as we said. His wife is white, by the way. But, he is black.
Well, I mean, he's policing himself.
The worst of the worst.
This is how you police yourself. So, Supreme Court Justice.
I mean, he's the worst of the worst. I mean, he polices himself, and he's got conflicts of interest everywhere. And he's
fucking gonna get away with it. That's the best part.
I mean,
the best part.
And his wife, Ginny Thomas, has claimed not to talk to her husband about cases or politics.
We never talk about anything with my husband. Dude,
we're talking about his fucking wife. Dude.
We meet in the house every day and we eat in silence. That's what we do with my husband.
In complete silence.
We look at the wall. Whoever speaks gets punished.
I mean, what kind of Muppets do they take you for, right? I mean, they're telling you that, husband and wife. Well, we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about Ginny, how did you get 120K last year?
I can't tell you, dear. No, dear. No. It's very sensitive. It's sensitive, dear.
Do you remember your buddy who took us to the Bahamas with his private jet, that crowd dude? Yeah, he's the one pay. He's the one pay. That's all right. Conflict of interest at all. They don't even recuse themselves, by the way. They're supposed to recuse themselves in any case where impartiality
just to avoid the conflict of interest.
Reasonably question. And he didn't recuse himself on fucking election fraud cases this time, even though his wife is fully into the fucking QAnon conspiracies that they stole the election.
By the way, when I was saying earlier that there are like ethical standards governing these professions, one of those ethical standards is you should avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest.
I mean, at this point, it's fucking loud, the conflict of it. There is no appearance of it. It's in your fucking face. And they're not doing anything. So, I mean, the whole thing is a joke.
We're gonna make our contribution to humanity, George. Here's how you solve this. Actually start paying Supreme Court judges a decent fucking salary and don't make them beg and grovel to billionaires. That solves everything instantly. It's one policy change. There we go. Moving forward.
What is their salary?
I have no idea, but let's find out.
It's 300K per year for the chief. Yeah, it is a lot of
300. No, man, it's not a lot of money. Give them 30 million. Like, you can fucking afford it. You are the federal US government. Your budget is 4.5 trillion. Pay them a salary that's high enough that they don't have to be corrupted.
I'm not against this. I mean, there's an argument to be made that giving proper remuneration to people will avoid further.
I think every person, American, European, Asian, African, I don't think it matters. Like, for the regular Joe in the street, if you tell him, do you prefer your politicians like begging billionaires for contribution funds, or do you want us to pay them a decent salary?
I'm with you on that one, but there's also other things that should be definitely considered. We're talking about the US Supreme Court. One of them is that it cannot be for life. It cannot be for life.
Of course.
It's ridiculous. You're not going to have fucking people dying while they're serving on the court, which has happened over and over.
And people getting sick with dementia. And not wanting to step down because they're the president of the wrong parties in office, and I must not relinquish my position.
Their appointment also needs to be fucking rewritten and reworked, and then you also need to have some form of fucking enshrined code of ethics for them. There's a lot of stuff to they need to. And a funny note, just to have some fun with it, the Republican mega donor who gives to the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has come under the spotlight, has a private, that Crow guy, he has a private collection. Do you want me to go on? You're going to love this. Including a garden of statues of dictators, including Mussolini and Stalin, Nazi memorabilia, and paintings, including 2 works by the esteemed painter Adolf Hitler.
Oh my God, man.
So, I mean,
because if you wake up in the morning and you don't look at a shrine of Mussolini, like, how do you start your day?
Get your morning boner?
Yeah, exactly. What do you jack off to?
To sees life by the rays. He also loves Margaret Thatcher. That should tell you a lot about whose company Margaret belongs in. But beyond that, what the fuck is this shit? And I thought Ben Shapiro, by the way, is online fucking defending this.
Nobody cares about Ben Shapiro. Nobody. Not even you.
Me, personally. Of course not. Of course not. I mean, a guy who would defend this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I think
so he's reminded himself of the atrocities of history. Nah, dude, he just loves the Nazi shit. You can tell.
All right. For the sake of keeping our, for the sake of speed, sir. So let's do a funny one. Have you heard about the Dalai Lama?
I've heard that he's licking people now. Yeah. He's been demanding that kids suck his tongue.
His Royal Holiness, the apparently royal molester of kids. Well, there was a video recently showing the Dalai Lama like sticking his tongue out and asking a kid to suck it. I'm not even joking. I wish I was joking. The material writes itself these days.
I have a hot take here. The Chinese were right about him.
So what strikes me as so odd with this is, like, in that video, there's like, I don't know, call it 10, 20 people around the Dalai Lama.
Nobody stopped him.
And cameras. Not only did nobody stop him, nobody looked shocked by that.
Which it must happen often.
Exactly, which basically means this is ordinary behavior, which basically means what the fuck is happening in the mountains of Tibet? It's not just the Catholic Church, George.
Yeah, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
allegedly,
honestly,
allegedly.
yeah, when you idolize religious people, this is what's gonna happen every time. They're gonna rape someone, dude.
Rape someone.
That's what's gonna happen. Don't idolize religious figures.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck me, non-religious figures do this shit. Imagine religious figures.
And it's been it's so.
I mean,
It's
who
been
the
a bit
fuck is the Dalai Lama? I don't
our
know.
spi-
Do you
our
know? No,
our
nobody
spiritual
knows.
leader,
A spiritual,
the
of
one
what?
the one that reincarnates every few years.
Mm,
And I
someone
mean,
that reincarnates.
it's quite funny because like it's a reincarnation story, but like I don't know, the subordinate of the Dalai Lama that after the Dalai Lama dies has
Dalai
to
Lama
find his
Jr.
ring.
It's
Yeah.
the
Oh
Dalai
no, no,
Lama Jr.
no, no. He has to, like the subordinate has
The
to find
finder of
the
Dalai
ring.
Lamas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Lorenzo Lama.
And he
The
begins a
tracker.
quest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever this one dies, they're gonna try to find the other one.
It's a main quest though. It's not a side quest.
Mm.
It's the
It's
most
the most
important quest.
quest, I imagine. Yeah.
An
And
end
then
game quest.
he gets to make children suck his tongue. It's a beautiful thing they've got in that beautiful religion.
Honestly, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what to say about all of this. It's a bit shocking. I don't think anyone
Only with
expected it.
consent, people. Only with consent.
No,
This is the shit that Tate is
no,
not
no.
gonna teach
It
you.
was like a
Tate is out of
5 year.
jail, by the way.
It was a 5-year-old kid. There was no consent. I mean,
When consent cannot be given, don't do it, folks. I'm telling you, Andrew Tate is not going to teach you this shit. This is the OG stuff.
Our modern day Mr. Miyagi, Andrew Tate, has left prison gracefully.
A warrior
of liberal thought.
Yeah, I mean,
not really. Pretty stupid thought. So he left Romanian prison, as far as I understand, and like the charges were dropped. We didn't find anything on him.
I'm genuinely care that much about him. I don't even know. I think they're just letting him go home for now.
It's actually home arrest, to be fair. But I don't know how the Romanian legal system works. But it seems like they can detain you for quite some time without really concrete evidence. And
especially if you're a dipshit.
Yeah, I mean that is a prerequisite. It's in the Constitution. Yeah. So
anyway, let's move on from this dipshit.
Let's move on. What else do we have?
Final thing I've got about Finland. Finland has had Finland. Beautiful Viking lands of Finland. They have a probable new conservative prime minister, Petteri Orpo, and he's expected to start coalition options after a narrow election victory win that shifted the country's politics decisively to the right and pushed. I mean, we had Sweden last year. Now we've got Finland, and pushed the party of his predecessor, Sanna Marin, a star of Europe's left, is what the article says, into third place. Final results showed Orpo's National Coalition Party, which is the center-right, which campaigned on a platform of reining in public spending. They won 48 seats in the 200-seat parliament, with the far-right anti-immigration Finns party getting 46 and Marin's Social Democrats 43. In terms of votes, the result was even closer, with the NCP winning 20.6%, the center-right, the far-right winning 20.1%, and the center-left winning 19.9%.
By the way, how funny is it that the far-right party is called the Finns Party?
It's always something.
We are Finland. Finland first.
Freedom Party. And I'm like, dude, you're going to fucking kill so many. The biggest party, but not for immigrants or anyone a bit dark looking. As of you don't deserve freedom. What the fuck? The biggest party traditionally gets the first chance to form a government, obviously. Since the 1990s, has always claimed the prime minister's office. But it's going to be difficult for him. By the way, even Marin's party, even she didn't do that badly because she actually gained seats in the parliament. But the other parties did even better. There was a collapse in the vote of her coalition parties, Marin's, the Green Party and a few others. They collapsed in voting, and that explains the increase in the in the center-right parties and the far-right parties' voting share. Marin had argued, I mean, the NCP definitely did best, but I mean, the far-right wasn't that far behind. The far-right campaigned on reducing, eliminating non-EU immigration.
Oh, as you do.
That was the
So,
main platform for it.
let me get this sort of straight. The far right outperformed the expectations, and the left sort of underperformed expectations. Is that right?
You mean I don't know what expectations, but yeah, their vote collapsed if you're talking about the Green Party and the leftist parties. But the Social Democratic Center-Left Party actually increased their votes.
Okay.
But the far-right and center-right increased them even more, which ended them in front. The center-right campaigned on fixing the economy, reining in spending, basically. They wanna reduce spending on welfare programs. And Marin campaigned on spending more on education and the health services as key to economic growth. And I've got a lot of things.
You have to understand, like, when the Finns say we're going to cut spending and so on, I mean, you have to understand, people, that even the right wing, it's going to cut spending from a really high level, far higher than anything in America or even most of Europe. So it's a little bit misleading because it sounds like they're trying to gut the government, and maybe they are, but I'm saying there's more room to do that than in other countries.
I've got more info. Yes, that's definitely what you're saying. I mean, we're talking about societies with far bigger welfare nets and a more robust system.
Bingo, exactly.
I mean, when the Republicans campaign on it, there's nothing left at this point apart from your pensions and social security. That's the one they want to cut.
That has always been the goal.
Yeah. So it's very true what you say. The center left has increased its share of the vote and gained 3 more seats. However, the center-right increased its number of MPs by 10, while the far-right Finns party, which mainly backs spending cuts and campaign mainly, I guess. I don't get the spending cuts by the fucking nationalists. I thought you care about your fucking national citizens. Why you are fucking cut now? But they have campaign.
We care about our donors. But
campaign mainly our donors. I think you mean Putin, right? Isn't he financing all the far-right dipshits in Europe?
I don't think so. I don't know.
He definitely does Le Pen. And it's come out in the campaign. But campaign, nobody's cutting checks for Le Pen apart from Putin.
I'm reading some stats here about like there's public concern about Finland's borrowing. It's a ratio of debt rose from
it increased.
It increased from 66% to 73%. That's pretty fucking low for a developed economy.
A pandemic, right? I mean, it was bound to increase because our economies collapsed and people still needed to be supported. Every single country's debt increased.
Exactly. And I mean, if you compare it with other countries, 73% of GDP of the economy as debt, it's pretty low. I mean, ask the Italians.
I mean,
ask the Greeks.
Obviously, Luigi. I mean, yeah. So did I add that the far-right Finns party added 7 more MPs? And the collapse, the ones who suffered heavy losses, were 3 members of Marin's outgoing left-leaning coalition, the once powerful agrarian center party, the Greens, and the Left Alliance. Those are the ones. They lost 8, 7, and 5 seats respectively. It's going to be difficult for Mr. Orpo of the center-right to have a government because he can do a government, a coalition with the far right, or he can do a government with Marin. It's going to be very hard to do a government with the center-left Social Democrats because they just defeated them in an election where they had the biggest antagonism between them because Marin was going on about, by the way, I didn't like Marin's campaign strategy. I mean, they were going on that the debt is increasing. And regardless, I mean, better to argue that it's not even that high at this point than to be like, I'm going to spend more on education and health. Because if you've got inflation and your argument is I'm going to be spending more, that ain't going to work.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
They're gonna paint you as an economic troglodyte.
And you almost are, because that's not the time to be doing spending increases.
It is not the time, people. When you have inflation, you can't keep turning on the taps because the inflation is going to rise. Inflation
is a phenomenon of demand, having too much demand for the amount of supply. you have in the economy. So if you just keep feeding that demand, you're basically going to make the inflation worse. So that's why.
So on the other hand, you had the center, the coalition, the center right, going on about cutting spending, which will be deflationary. It may not be the way I would go, but it is a deflationary method to cut spending. You have two options, basically, fiscal policy as a government. You can cut spending or you can increase taxes.
Yeah.
Bingo, I would have gone for that one.
Yeah.
But Marin didn't. I mean, she focused most of it on spending more, which is not going to make the argument work.
But I mean, it's really tricky, right? Because even though sound economics say you should rein in the spending, that doesn't play well politically.
No,
the average person doesn't understand what inflation, or the average person understands what inflation is, but not necessarily the drivers of it and how you should deal with that. So I mean, maybe they're pandering to their audience.
There are many ways, Luigi. I mean, you could do price freezes. You could do wage and price freezes. Just freeze the whole wage price spiral, just like that. You can break up monopolies. You can tax them. You can do corporate tax increases. You can equalize capital gains with the fucking income tax. We've talked about this shit over and over.
Over and over.
And not even Marin was willing to go there. The star of the left in Europe, as you said.
All right. There we go. Where else are you going to find Finnish news?
100%. And so just to finish up, so he can either do a coalition with Marin and the center left, but it's going to be very difficult because they just fought an election, one of them being pro-spending and the other being anti-spending. Or he can do a coalition with the far right, but that's going to be difficult as well because the far right doesn't believe in climate change, wants to leave the EU and a bunch of other crazy shit. So it's going to be tricky.
There are no easy allies out there.
No easy allies for Mr. Orpo.
Life is difficult.
He'll deal with it. He's
in Finland.
In Finland. But it's sad. I'm going to say it's sad to see all the Scandinavian countries shifting right.
Yeah.
They are the beacon on the hill.
They are the beacon. But
the light is dimming.
Yeah. Again, though, they're right. I don't think it's really the same kind of right as you have in other sort of more scary countries.
They keep voting for it. It will get there.
Yeah. All right. With our final couple of minutes, I've got a couple of stories that are pretty fun to end with. So, do you know BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager?
I've heard of those deep shits. I've heard of them.
So like everyone has heard of, JP Morgan and Citigroup. BlackRock has always been a little bit under the radar because they're not actually a bank.
Yeah,
but they are. They have the most money under management globally.
Wow. And what are they exactly, Luigi? What are they called?
They're an asset manager.
Asset manager.
So they
own shit, people.
They own shit. No, they're the biggest shareholder in multiple corporations and love, Apple.
All of them,
whatever.
Basically.
In all of them. $10 trillion in assets under management. That is
bigger
basically
than some economies in the EU.
Than most economies in the EU. That's 1/3 of the entire American economy. Whatever. So BlackRock, we've talked about the French protests recently.
They're still going on, people.
They're still going on.
Vive la France!
Vive la France!
We love them. We love them. Laugh to the French.
When the French protesters passed outside the BlackRock offices in Paris, they look at that like, oh, mon ami, that is a very nice building that probably should get burned. Huh?
Who is this BlackRock? Who is this BlackRock? It does not sound very pro-worker, huh?
Oh, let's make it fire rock. And they burned most of it down.
They burned some stuff.
Demonstrators forced their way into the building that houses BlackRock's offices.
They looted the Starbucks as well.
I've got a quote here from a spokesman for a French union. The meaning of this action is quite simple. We went to the headquarters of BlackRock to tell them the money of the workers for our pensions, they are taking it. Quite nice. Pretty good quote. That's pretty much it. I don't have a lot to add to the story, but I just found it funny that world's largest asset manager gets raided by protesters.
By angry French protesters.
French protesters.
Building baguettes on fire.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is not the last time this decade the angry protesters will do something similar, judging by the way income inequality and wealth inequality and poverty is progressing.
50% chance it's gonna be French again.
Oh, as always. I mean, the French are the trailblazers in this kind of stuff.
They really are.
No.
They really are.
And I respect them so deeply for that. I mean, we might do the funny voices and whatever, but I mean, the culture
of... Dude,
of...
even if French fucker is listening, we've never given you bad publicity. For fuck's sake, be reasonable.
I was going to say, though, the culture of protesting with every little minor, I love that. I think that's how every country or every economy
was how they
be.
dealt with Louis, and it is how we shall deal with all of them.
This is how Luigi will deal with you all, right? And final piece of sort of satirical news. Things you don't see when the economy is booming.
Yeah.
Apple launches buy now, pay later service in the US. So let me sort of translate that. No money, no problem. You can now buy your $2,000 iPhone on your credit card.
This is how you create a debt bubble, basically. Yeah. Because you refuse to redirect wealth from the immensely wealthy to all the fucking unfortunate ones. So what do you fucking figure out the way to make the immensely fucking unfortunate ones who own nothing be able to participate in the economy? You make them borrow more and more and more and more debt until
give
the
them access to credit. It's credit. By the way, I'm following this shit closely. Credit card debt in the US
must be
is at a new record high and rising at astonishing paces. But the funny part is that, it's fine to have, it's never fine to have credit card debt because you pay 20% interest rates on that. But like when interest rates themselves were 0%, it made a little bit of sense. Now with interest rates across the world going up. I mean, credit card interest rates have gone to the stratosphere, and meanwhile, like the masses are putting more and more payments on their credit cards and paying interest on that. That does not end well.
Yeah, and Luigi, it hasn't been 20 years since the last time the fucking thing collapsed because we gave bad debts. It was for mortgages, but it's the same fucking principle. Yeah. And we're doing it again.
It's an ancient method, George. The only way to deal with a hangover is to drink more alcohol.
100%. It is an ancient method bound to work.
Our forefathers and their fathers before them
died at 50 years old because their kidney couldn't work anymore.
Yeah, you're doing it all wrong. You are not painting a happy picture.
I am not. I'm not good at painting happy pictures.
All right. That covers it for me. Parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. Hope to see Donny in jail.
All right. So stay tuned. Thank you for making it to the end, and catch you next week.
See you guys. Love you. Bye-bye.